Good morning. Lovely to see you.
Yep, very good morning to you. On the show today, it's payback time for the con man who swindled his way to Wall Street and stole millions.
Alice.
Now, all of us face choices that shape the course of our lives, but few of them are as dramatic as Barry Minkows. He was a con man who swindled his way to Wall Street, stole literally millions, and now it is payback time, as he tells Sonia Diol.
I started Z-Best in October of 1982. Never had the intention of defrauding Wall Street, just wanted a date with a cute girl.
Barry Minkow was the perfect example of the American dream, an entrepreneur by his teens, and by the time he was 20, a multi-millionaire. But not everything was as it seemed.
I'm 15 years old, I'm in high school, I'm a junior, I have a crush on a cheerleader, and she was in 12th grade and I was in 11th grade, and I wanted her to notice me. To get her attention, I started a carpet cleaning company from my garage. I'm in 11th grade, everybody else is worried about Algebra 2 finals, and I'm worried about, can I make payroll on Friday? And I got a Diners Club card, and I was buying for everybody. I was suddenly included in all the hip crowds. When I was 16, I couldn't meet payroll. And I should have thrown in the towel and quit and said I gave it a try. But my pride and my ego wouldn't let me. So I started doing credit card fraud just to keep the company rolling. I convinced myself that it's temporary. It's not like I'm taking the money and going to Vegas and blowing it. I'm using it to give people salaries and to give them jobs, and I'm creating jobs, and I'm the backbone of the American economy, and I'm going to be the General Motors of the carpet cleaning industry.
It strikes me that this all stemmed from really deep insecurities. Would you say you had insecurities? Is that fair?
That's very perceptive, and yes, I would say I had a lot of insecurities about wanting to be liked, wanting to be accepted, and I think that I had a lot of insecurities that I looked to. Some went to drugs, alcohol, sex. Me, it was fraudulent business activities to buy stuff so people would like me and get respect imputed to me. Everybody thought the carpet cleaning company was just making money hand over fist because it kept growing. See, fraud is the skin of the truth stuffed with a lie. We did not have any jobs, although we were claiming $50 million in revenue. We rented a building and put some signs up the night before, paid off the guard, and we went there on a weekend with the auditors and the lawyers and toured them on the building and said, yeah, we just finished. According to the government, I spent $3.3 million over 5 years on myself, cars, houses, but no matter how much I spent, it didn't take away the pain of knowing internally that I was a crook. You have this haunting specter of guilt, and that's what I had to deal with.
Oh, come on, Barry. If you felt so guilty, you know, you could have stopped this at any time, couldn't you?
Yeah, that's an option. You're right, I could have. I was never thought I was going to get away with it. No perpetrator of fraud thinks that they're just going to defraud everybody and run to Europe, or run to America, or run to the Bahamas. That wasn't my intention. My intention was, what? Pay everybody back. I'll figure out, I'm resourceful. Backed into the corner, I'll figure out a way to keep everybody and get them paid off. The luck ran out on May 22nd, 1987. Have you read today's LA Times? No. Go get it. And it was an article about the past credit card fraud by some reporter. And 40 days later, the company went bankrupt. And I was done.
I first met Barry in a crowded courtroom, and my goal was to make sure that Barry was going to be locked up. He was clearly a con man, but he had this element of youth and sort of likable charm. And in that sense, I found him a bit entertaining, but I had one thing on my mind, and that was make sure Barry Minkow goes to jail and is locked up so he can't hurt any other innocent people.
I was in FCI Inglewood, and once a year the guards turned their backs and let us play tackle football. Run right before halftime, I'm going back for a pass, and a guy, his name is Shotgun, 6'7", comes through the line and dives on me. Right in the ground, I broke my nose. I mean, I hope you don't think it grew like this. So he broke my nose, and I mean, it was ugly. And Peanut came up to me and said, okay, in the second half, here's what we're going to do to win. And I said, I'm a little disabled. He said, listen to me, Barry. You're one of the most talented people I've ever met, but you're a quitter. And whenever life gets tough, that's what you do, you quit. One time in your life, things are going to be tough, and you're not going to quit, and your life changes here on this football field today, and you're going to go back and play. And on a frozen football field in Inglewood, Colorado, I went back in and played the second half of that game and didn't quit, and my whole life was changed. Originally, I think my finding God was a mere vehicle to get out of prison. But it all came real that day on that football field, and that's when I started to go to seminary and start to get trained to be a pastor and turn my life around. And I remember him saying, you know, you pick up the Bible, but you really don't believe it. You're just another con. So, you know, God changed my life, but I think initially my motives were not so pure. But the good thing about being a Christian is God don't care what your motives are. As long as you come. He don't care why you come. Just come to him. He'll change your motive. And that's what he did with me. He changed my motive.
Shortly after he got released, he called me. He wanted to establish contact. He wanted to basically thank me for setting him straight. So this is very different from any other person I ever prosecuted in the 10 years that I was a federal prosecutor.
Jericho was an important geographical location for the Roman Empire. Trade took place there. It was the Manhattan Wall Street of its day.
Barry is now the senior pastor at the Community Bible Church in San Diego, but he wants to do more than just repay his debts to society. He also wants to repay his debts to the investors of Union Bank, who he defrauded 20 years ago to the tune of $7 million.
Barry, at what point are you going to feel that you have paid everything back, your debt to society?
You don't. When you cut your hand and it heals, there's still a scar. The scars of my crimes, I'm forgiven. I've paid my debt to society, but there's a scar.
So for the rest of your years?
You're stuck.
For as long as you live?
It's a life sentence. Whenever you're a public figure, you have to disclose, I'm a convicted felon. What I always disclose is this: I'm a liar and I'm a cheat saved by God's grace. That's what I am.
But Barry's congregation extends beyond the church. The pastor also preaches his anti-fraud message to the financial high flyers of the corporate world.
People who perpetrate white-collar crime are committing temporary insanity. At ZBES, we created 20,000 fraudulent documents, much to our shame, to fool the auditors.
It's more than just all talk with Barry.
Fraudulent documents.
Operating as the Fraud Discovery Institute, he's unearthed over $1 billion worth of fraud in corporate America.
So when I got out of prison, most guys, they're told by the courts that you're not allowed to associate with an ex-felon while you're on probation. Me, I couldn't go within 10 feet of a bottle of Whiteout for 5 years. This is a good crowd, and they're certainly taking the subject seriously, or else they wouldn't be here, and they were very receptive, so it was cool. But got to go back to San Diego and take care of the twin boys, which is a full-time job, so got to head out right now.
All right, thanks again, Barry.
You got it. Gary, I'll see you.
Thank you so much.
Barry and his wife Lisa are unable to have children, so they've adopted Guatemalan twins, Robert and Dylan.
Do you feel now at this point that your life is complete? You feel a sense of fulfillment?
Well, you know, the answer is yes, absolutely. Something I never had with a $300 million company, you know, built on lies. But I still have a lot more to do and a long way to go. So yeah, I'm content. I'm thrilled to have the boys. Yeah, it's God's grace, you know, that's for sure. Certainly, no question at all.
Well, he's turned it around, hasn't he?
And Sonia will be back with another moment of truth soon.